in a field that is quite interesting today, and it's changing as the world changes. Most people never consider bookbinding. They never even wonder how their book was put together, but it is something that has to be done, and it's been done since the first book was printed. My grandfather had a vision or an earnest want to be a bookbinder when he was a young man, and back in 1923 he was a foreman of a warehouse. He was brought to Abilene by Abilene Printing and Stationery to run their bindery. They had a bindery built into their printing services. They were doing the local yearbooks. He did that from 1923 until 1947. He had 3 sons. They were all involved in the war effort, of course, and after the war, they all came home. He convinced Abilene Printing and Stationery that they should sell him the bookbinding part of their business, the equipment and the bookbinding business, basically. And along with my father, who was anxious to join him, they opened up H.V. Chapman and Sons, hoping that the other 2 brothers would join them. They worked hard, long hours. I grew up knowing my dad would always come home fairly late from work. Sometimes he'd work very late getting things done. He really oversaw the business with a nose to the grindstone type philosophy, and wasn't too concerned about how he might really get wealthy as much as just simply make a living. So he did that. I grew up in that environment, and I wanted to do anything but be a bookbinder because I wanted to do a lot of different things. I was pursuing my teaching degree, and when he turned 64 and decided he was going to sell the business, which I didn't really think he would ever do, but he was going to sell it. So I decided I would buy it and try it for a while at least, and then if I didn't like it, I would sell it. And my grandfather had retired at 88, and so my dad was on his own, and I'd worked there through college, and I knew the business. And so I took over thinking I wouldn't like it, and here I am. We had always rented, and so I started looking for a way to not expand the business as much as I did to make it more substantial, which buying a building was the next logical step. A lot of downtown business property was available, and I started looking at a lot of it. But the actual building that we had started out in was about to collapse, actually, and so I was able to buy it for a song, basically. And with a lot of hard work and some investment, we moved back into the original building, and so here we are, the same building we started out in 1947. Our business has not changed much. The printing world has changed drastically, and it's still changing every day, and people that buy into a printing business have got to get on the cutting edge to stay marketable, and technology they're buying now may change in another year or so and actually not be worth anything. So offset printing has changed. Now most things are digital, and that's just changed the way we do things here too, except the bookbinding techniques have stayed the same, and our equipment is old, not computer driven, considered antiques. Much of it has not been made in 80 years, but we still use it every day, and I can fix it all, and that makes it a very resilient business in that sense. We can pull in our belt when we need to, and we can adjust what we do. We've changed the way we do things a lot. We broker a lot of printing. My dad had the idea of not doing anything but binding, and if anybody came to him with a book to produce, he would say, well, you go talk to a printer, and then we'll do the binding if you need us to. Well, we didn't get a lot of business we lost a lot of business that way, and growing up in it, I could see the potential of doing more if we handled everything. So I learned to broker printing. So if someone comes to me and says, I have a book, I've written it, I've got drawings, I got pictures I want to put in it, but I don't know where to start, I'll say, we can do it. Many techniques have changed. Many books are bound with glue or staples, or there's many ways they're put together that are different. But the tried and true method is to sew a book through its folded signature, and then have those signatures sewn together across the back of the spine, so that it opens, it doesn't stress the paper, and it will continue to open for centuries. We've seen some from the 1600s. A gentleman brought in a Gutenberg Bible that he had for 30 years, and it is one of only, I think, about 30 in the United States. We pointed him to a broker that bought it from him, and it was worth quite a bit of money. So we'll see some of those. Every book is a different size, a different thickness, and has different characteristics, and so they're all really unique and unusual. We'll see family Bibles from the Reconstruction period after the Civil War. A lot of those are done, and beautiful things that will never be made like that again. I think that for the time being that we will be strong in that regard, and I think that the world is heading towards the digital process of having books not on paper, and my grandchildren will probably never have a textbook in school. But I think a book that you can hold in your hand, turn the pages of, and curl up with is going to be important to someone somewhere, probably as long as we can foresee. I'm Stan Chapman, and I'm a bookbinder.